From the New York Times and WBUR Boston, this is Modern Love. Stories of love, loss, and redemption. I'm your host, Meghna Chakrabarty. Obsessing over text messages. We all do it. But when you're dating, texting can also mean miscommunication, mixed signals, and drama. That's what Sandra Barron writes about in her essay, Are We Dating? Her piece is read by Kristen Ritter, who stars in the Netflix series Jessica Jones.
The orange message light on my cell phone started blinking as I was getting ready for bed. Barely an hour had passed since our quick kiss goodnight at the subway, and I was surprised to see the screen light up with the initials I'd just entered into my phone. It wasn't a voicemail. It was a text message, and it made me smile. You miss me? Wink face. I'd met him a week before at my usual Wednesday night hangout. He was alone, but gregarious, and he seemed to be pals with the female bartender. A tacit vote of confidence. He chatted with my friends and me, and then left with a wave from the door. When my friend Kate and I ordered our next round of drinks, the bartender said this round was on the guy we had just been talking to. Surprised, we debated his motivations. I insisted that perfectly normal people sometimes buy strangers drinks just to be nice. Kate thought he was way too aggressive. When I saw him at the bar the next Wednesday, I thanked him for the drink. He asked if he could take me to dinner sometime.
All right, that's all we're going to listen to. Do we think we know what topic this podcast is on? We know that the production elements are that they played some music over the title and had a brief description, and the host introduced herself, right? And then what else? Anybody notice anything? You can type it in the chat or use your voice. I will also do some modeling of my thinking. But I'm going to take the dramatic teacher pause to see if anyone has any thoughts, if you're paying attention, or I've lost them all to Fortnite. All right. Well, I'm going to be recording this, so I noticed that she used details to set the scene, right? I knew I was in a bar. I knew I was in what kind of bar I was in. So she used details to set the scene. And is the topic then dating? You know, possibly. I'm going to say that's dating for now. Yeah, relationships. Exactly, Jonathan. Dating and relationships. I like that better. All right. So now we're going to do this next one because we're going fairly quickly on this. I just want to model for you how to analyze a podcast and show you three really different ones at first. And then I'm going to lead you to a site and you guys are all going to take off and choose a podcast to listen to and analyze more closely and know why. So let's move over to the next one, which is here. And we're not going to listen to a lot of it, just a few minutes. This one is called The Right to Bear Arms. It's slightly different.
From the New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the Second Amendment is just 27 words long. But those 27 words are among the most cryptic and controversial in the U.S. Constitution. Why the Supreme Court is reluctant to better define them. It's Tuesday, April 3rd. Adam, can you set the scene of this 1939 Supreme Court case? What's going on at the time?
So it involves a guy named Jack Miller, who was a small-town thug in the heyday of Midwestern bank robbery in the Al Capone era in the Great Depression, who was a member of a gang that robbed a lot of banks. He turns government informant. He goes kind of straight for a little while, but he's caught between Oklahoma and Arkansas with a sawed-off shotgun, and he's prosecuted by federal authorities for violating a then-recent gun control law called the National Firearms Act.
Adam Liptak covers the Supreme Court for the Times.
So Miller, charged with this crime, says, wait a second, isn't there a Second Amendment? Don't I have a constitutional right to keep and bear this gun? And he challenges the prosecution on Second Amendment grounds, and this case makes it up to the Supreme Court, which in 1939, for the first time ever, tells us something about what the Second Amendment means.
And what question is the court trying to answer in this case, Adam?
The basic question for the court is how to make sense of the Second Amendment, which has two competing ideas in it. Let me read it to you, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's got two clauses. The Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. So that announces something about what the amendment wants to accomplish. Is it the only thing it wants to accomplish? Is it just an illustration of what it might like to accomplish? And then there's a much easier part of it to understand where it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If we only had the second clause, that would be clean. That would be like the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech.
All right. If you're interested, you can go find that one and listen to the whole thing. What's the topic here? Give me an idea. I heard that there was, again, music playing over the description. That seems to be a podcast thing, to have some music under there. I heard two voices. It sounded to me like an interviewer and an expert on the topic. And it sounded like they were giving history of the topic and like a story to get attention. Well, what's the topic? Any ideas? Anyone? They've all fallen asleep. Not enough coffee? Oh, there we go. All right. So we're talking about the law, right? Okay. So the law and Constitution, the Second Amendment, if we wanted to get more specific. Absolutely. And that's a really fascinating controversy. I love that because the whole thing is about grammar, whether or not, yeah, it's a great podcast. It's all about grammar in English, which is cool. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to make sure that we understand that podcasts come in different ways. And so we're going to listen to one more clip of one more podcast, just a few minutes of it. And we'll be listening to just a minute and 27 cents of this. If I can find it, where is it? I was listening last night. Here it is. All right.
Getting snowed in at a luxurious ski chalet in the French Alps doesn't sound like the worst problem in the world, unless you were trapped with 8 coworkers, each with something to gain, something to lose, and something to kill for. One by One, the twisty psychological thriller from Ruth Ware, #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Woman in Cabin 10. Discover why Ruth Ware has been called the Agatha Christie of our time. Read One by One. Available now wherever books are sold.
I'm Jenna Wortham.
I'm Wesley Morris. We are two very exasperated culture writers at the New York Times.
I mostly write about how humans relate to technology.
I mostly write about how popular culture relates to humans.
Well, this is Still Processing.
I'm noticing the music again. Seems like a podcast.
Hi, Wesley.
Thing.
Listen, we got a HOV lane through a lot of stuff today.
I know.
And I mean, what's happening with you? What's going on in your brain? I'm still recovering from last weekend, so I'm going to take a second.
Get it together.
I know it's Thursday, but still.
I'll start with the bright spot.
Okay.
Our girl Cardi B hit #1 on the charts. So shout out to us because we got our prediction for Song of the Summer right. It is Bodak Yellow.
This is clearly
But
a couple years old.
Yes.
I mean, it's #1 on the chart.
Don't do that. Yeah, it's #1 on the charts. It's #1 psychically, spiritually, qualitatively, quantitatively.
Fine.
It's there.
I can't the charts. You can't dispute the charts.
Move it along. Should we just just one more time.
Can we
just
play
for old
it for the
time's sake.
18th
I mean,
time?
because yeah.
She gon' do what or who? Let's find out and see. Cardi B, you know where I'm at. You know where I be. You in the club.
So obviously the world is in a little bit of crisis. There have been storms after storms after storms that are hitting every island. Name an island. You get
All right. So I'm also noticing, we're just going to listen a little bit. I could listen to a whole thing. That one's fascinating. But it sounds like friends talking to each other, and they talk about something light first, even though the topic is going to be heavy, right? We saw that it's about taking a knee. It's about, this is from a few years ago. It's about when Colin Kaepernick was first protesting this slew of violence that's been in the news. So they talk about something light first and then move to the harder topic. But they really just do sound like friends, right? Yeah, like an icebreaker, exactly. So what's the topic of this one then? We sort of talked about it already. Is it possibly police violence against Black people? All right, I mean, that's what I'm going to say because I'm looking at the stuff, the still processing title and the image there. But are you noticing that each of them has a topic, and then there's some production elements that we're noticing, right? There's like things that the people do that make it the way it is. So that's really what we want to be looking at. All right, we're going to stop that share. I'm going to let in Jay and let in Andy, have them join us in the Nearpod. Good morning, guys. Hope you weren't waiting long. I was sharing my screen. I didn't see ya. Join our Nearpod. We're in the middle of our lesson on podcasts. So.
Good morning, miss.
Good morning, dear. How are you?
I bet I came in a little bit late.
It's understandable. Hope you got your coffee. You just missed the first part where we listened to some podcasts, and now we're going to be working to, right now, just tag up this wall. It's blank. You can write anything you want here, and I want to see what you are thinking right now. Are you with me? Is this making sense? Do you have questions, right? You can write literally anything you want. Ask your questions or make your comments here. So just whatever's up in your head, put it there. Give me something, write something, draw something, make a squiggle, add a picture. You can see at the bottom, there's all these tools. You could add a picture. You could, I could give you guys a cup of coffee. Yes. Yeah, just tell me how you're feeling right now. Draw in there. If you missed it, Andy, here's the Nearpod link. I saw you had to go and come back. It's all good.
All right,
Technology's annoying. I get it. We are all doing the best we can. Yes, tired, hardest working. Oh, I like the picture too. Yes. All right. Yumi, Sebastian, Kane, show me something. What are you thinking? Jonathan gave me some Z's. I love it. I love you feeling good this morning, Prince. That's awesome. There we go. Andy's in. Awesome. Any other thoughts about those podcast clips we listened to before we move on? You can share in the chat, or you can use your voice. I love voices. I even more love faces. You have no idea how hard it is to teach without yeah, it is hard to draw with a mouse, right? It's so hard to teach without seeing your faces though, man. I'm used to being able to see the droopy eyes, know that you're falling asleep and like do something crazy to wake you up. I'm known to dance around rooms. Yumi, are you sleeping? Sebastian, did you fall asleep? Did you have to go get another cup of coffee? It's all good. I just want to see engagement. You can give me direct feedback too. You can be like, lady, you're boring, you're annoying. Your voice is annoying. I don't care. I have no ego in this. I just want you to learn. Mad hard to draw. No, I have zero judgment on anybody about anything. Just do you. I love you all just for being here. By the way, you did just show up, and that's amazing. Okay? Like, just, it's enough. It's a pandemic. Give a couple more minutes. I want to see any other thoughts that people have. So I liked all three of those podcasts. I didn't listen to them all the way through. I only listened to the clips last night when I was prepping for this lesson. I might definitely yes, me too. That's what I miss about school, that we don't get to have like real discussions because people are afraid of Zoom or something. I don't know. Is it weirder to be in a Zoom class than in a regular class? It's really weird to teach. I don't know what it's like to be a learner. And Halloween is coming. Are you guys making your TikToks for the Halloween thing? Me and Stella are totally making a TikTok this afternoon. So I'm not sure what. We're going to be weird and silly. But my 7-year-old is hilarious. So y'all definitely have to come to that celebration on Friday where we share them, because it's going to be funny, so that I can let people know. All right. So why are we listening to podcasts, right? What is this about? So you're going to be creating original podcasts for this unit. You can work individually or you can work in small groups. I can support you in creating small groups, right? I could make breakout rooms right now and just like randomly sort you and find someone for you. Or you could email me and I could put 2 of you together by email or 3 of you together by email that are interested. Or you could chat it up and figure it out yourself, or just work on your own, right? As you wish. Because I know some people have issues with small groups. I asked that question, and I know it can be even more challenging with this world where, you haven't even met in person. But as you heard, sometimes podcasts are really nice when there are 2 people talking. So if there's another person that's also in this class, you could make a podcast that was 2 people talking. Yeah. Anybody want to argue with Sebastian? Because I think he'd be really excited to have that. I'm thinking maybe Andy might be a good choice. I just met you, Andy, but reading your stuff, I think you have that in you. So I might put Andy and Sebastian together if I were making groups based on the little tiny bit of evidence I've had so far about who you guys are. Your podcasts are going to be 5 minutes or less, right? And while that might sound like a short amount of time, if students want to produce quality audio, it really isn't. So, at least a minute or 2. We just heard like 2 minutes of a podcast. So you saw there's not much you can get out of that amount of time. So 5 minutes or less, it'll take some doing to get it good. There are lots of different kinds of podcasts, right? Some consist largely of conversations between hosts. I have a former student, Shayna, who put out a podcast like that, Shayna Stevens from Red Hook, if anybody knows her. But she and one of her friends released a podcast, and I listened to a couple episodes, and it was great. It was just them talking about regular stuff, and because they're both entertaining and interesting people, it was a great podcast. Others are based on interviews, right? I listened to Brene Brown has a podcast. I think she's an amazing person, and she interviews a whole bunch of other people in her podcast, right? And others involve mostly storytelling, either nonfiction or fiction, things like Serial or Not Nice White Parents or School Colors, right? If you want to learn why the schools are so messed up in New York, listen to the School Colors podcast. It is enlightening, shows the history of all the crap that happened in our city. So podcasts also serve different purposes, right? Some are trying to make you laugh. Others are trying to keep you in suspense. Like if you listen to Serial about the guy who murdered his girlfriend, it was like, whoa, what's going to happen? Did he really do it? And each episode you get more and more information. And some are just to inform. So you want to think about all those different possibilities as you consider what you want your podcast to be like. You get to choose. If you want to make it funny, you can. If you want to make it serious, you can. It's absolutely up to you. You're going to be choosing one of these podcasts to listen to and analyze more fully. These are all episodes from the Miseducation podcast. So I'll be sending you a link. What do you mean random? Right. I want this to not be completely random. I want it to be kind of built off of our narratives. So to give you examples of what that could look like, it won't necessarily for you, but the podcast called Miseducation, I played an episode for you last time from my former student, Seth. Each of these episodes also has a story that is connected to something outside of the student, right? So if we listen to Ayana, Adriana, and Javi all go to a transfer school called James Baldwin. So it's a school just like this one. Noah is another kid. He went to a different high school. He's really interesting. You could listen, all of these are here. This is an assignment that you will get some credit for, and it is a project building assignment because I want you to do the analysis where you begin to understand, how are podcasts told and what makes them. So before we do that, so after this session is over, let's just be clear. I will send you the link to the Miseducation podcast, and you will pick one episode to listen to and analyze, okay? And then there'll be a place where you write your thoughts on iLearn about what you've analyzed, and that will be an assignment. Again, when we think about how to pass this class, the projects are absolutely required. You can't even pass without the projects. The project development just raises your grade. So there's more than one way to pass the class, and you might want to do all the project development work to get your grade boosted and up. I see that some people have been going back and doing old stuff. That's a very good strategy. The more points you get, the better. So I'm not sure what I was thinking with this slide. It was late at night. I was doing this too long ago. All right. Oh, this is what you're going to write on the thing. So you don't have to do anything now, because once we get to a lesson, you'll do it. So thinking about what we want to do with ourselves, if we can already think that far through, right? You'll go and you'll listen to some podcasts and get some more ideas. But right now, what topic do you think you'd like to explore in yours? And ideally, it's connected to whatever you wrote your narrative about, right? So if you wrote your narrative about, I don't know, any topic, that would be the topic that you're going to put your podcast on. And then what production elements do you want to emulate? So for instance, my story, if I had written it, and I haven't, is really about truancy. And for me, how I started cutting school. And it's a pretty good story, actually, about how I followed this girl who I thought was super cool. And we started cutting school, and she led me into all kinds of nefarious things. She got me stealing money and just shoplifting. And I mean, she was a bad girl. She got me into all kinds of bad things. And so if I were going to do it, my production elements would be about that truancy. And then I would want to do storytelling and maybe an interview. So I might want to interview more than me. It's another kid that had the similar experience. All right. So write in for you. What do you think is your topic you'd like to explore, or your production elements you want to emulate? And talk to me if we need to talk this through, or chat me in the chat. And I know some of you have not yet finished writing your paper, and that's fine. If you have, this should be easy. You should be able to just jump in and go, oh, I wrote my paper on, bullying. And now I'm going to make my podcast about bullying. And I want it to be funny. So, awesome. Yeah, it should be something you care about, because you'll do research. And if you care about it, you're more likely to do research about it. I love it. Yeah. Yes. But I still have that question, Jay. Why? Right? That question, why? That could be your topic. All right, we're almost done. Anything else? right. Prince, you got an answer? Yumi, you got an answer? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Yes, I love that topic, Prince. That's a great one. Last call, Yumi, you there? By the way, I speak enough Spanish. If you guys need to write in that language, I could handle it. I can't handle any other languages though. All right. So before you answer this question, hear me out. This is what I'm telling you. You're going to do a podcast project, but there's also possibility if that project feels really daunting, you could go back to the beginning of the course and do all of the first unit and the second, and you could still probably pass the course without doing the podcast mathematically. So right now, I just want you to tell me what's your plan? How are you feeling? Are you excited to start this project? Are you excited to make a podcast? Are you happy this hour is over so you can go do whatever you want to go do? Are you daunted by this project? It sounds like a lot to make a podcast. Are you upset by the project because you didn't know that you were going to have to do this kind of work? Or are you happy that you have a pass without the project? You're going to, do the assignments in marking period 2 and see if you can pass like that because you're just going to avoid this. I'm curious your feedback before I keep pushing because I don't know how people feel. It's really hard to read you behind a screen.
How long the podcast gotta be?
It's under 5 minutes. So it could be 1 to 5 minutes, anywhere in that.
Oh, that's calm.
Yeah, it's not long. I mean, I know that's high school. I'm not asking you to be, outside of high school. Right? Oh, good. Sandra's here. Hey, Sandra, how are you, my love? You're kind of at the end of the lesson. I'll send you the Nearpod link. You can join us, but you might have questions, and please hang out after if you have questions, okay? Anyone who came late and feels like they're lost, just let me know. And there's the Nearpod link. Right. So I'm getting some good feedback here. People are telling me what their plans are. And let's talk about these ideas. So yeah, somebody brought up a topic of like, oh, I don't want to go personal. And you do not have to go personal, right? This could be issues that are topics that are related to other people. And, if you do not have to tell any personal stories in it, it could be very much about just an issue or topic that you think pertains to more than just you. It needs to be a bigger topic. Right. So we're going to be wrapping up. And what I expect for you guys to do is to listen to one. So you're going to listen to one of the episodes of Miseducation, that podcast, and you're going to do the analysis like we did in class. Now, if you missed the beginning of this lesson, just wait about a half an hour and there will be a video up. Yeah, you totally can make a podcast of how angry you are at the world, Sebastian. That would be a delightful thing to hear. I would love to have more students speaking their truth into the world. That's the idea. But so again, if you missed today's lesson where we kind of went over how we analyze, how I'm with you, Bianca. I hate that I'm launching you guys into this world. All right. So to be clear, here comes for everybody. This is the, yeah, I'm going to answer you out loud, Jay, without talking about your particular thing. But Jay's asking like, what about this? What about this? Really, your topic can be anything that's very important to you and matters to you so that you will have the ability to do it and to create it, right? You want to be able to be motivated enough to do the research. So it should be a topic that matters to you and you care about, not something that you think is right. So that topic is fine, Jay, whatever is you're passionate about. I'm giving you this example of the Miseducation podcast because they're all created by young people. So they're all already created by teens. They're about New York City schools, so about something that I know everyone here is familiar with. So go to that website and pick one of those podcasts that looks interesting to you. There's 3 seasons worth of episodes. I've already played for you Steph's episode 1 of season 3, so you don't need to see that one because that's from the last lesson. But any of the other episodes, and they almost all focus on a particular thing, right? The first season is mostly about diversity and the lack of diversity in New York City schools. We are actually the most segregated school district in the entire country. I didn't know that until I started listening to these podcasts. I can send it to your email as well, and it's posted on iLearn. Okay, so let me show you where on iLearn you want to be. I'll do a screen share. But I can send things to your email if that's helpful. I hear from folks that's what they need. All right. I want it to be okay. I think you can see that, yes? This is your homepage. This makes it look like you see with a student. And just like every live lesson I do, I will create a video out of this lesson so that whatever you missed will be a video. It will be as short as I can make it because I know nobody likes to watch long videos. And you go to content. My computer's taking forever to load today. And we're into marking period 3, right? So just to repeat, this is the path I was talking about. If you want to, you need to have at least marking period 2's project done by the time we get to the end, plus another one of these paths. So if you want to go back, make sure you've done every single assignment in marking period 1. I know most of you weren't enrolled then. You may, and you can get all those points. You must write your narrative. You will not pass this class without writing the project narrative. That narrative is on any of these 3 topics that we talked about. And ideally, whatever you write your narrative about also becomes your podcast. So if you write about an obstacle that leads to later success, or a challenge, a setback, a failure that you learned from, that challenge, setback, or failure becomes the topic of your podcast. Make sense? Or if you chose the problem solution, that problem becomes the topic of your podcast. Or if you chose discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of growth, that is the topic of your podcast. So this is what we start with, the narrative, marking period 2. And then we move down to marking period 3, and you can see those lessons. I wish this didn't take so long to load. Selah. Let me show my participants. Oh, Prince left us. He's coming back. Good. All right. So we come down, and then today we're doing the second lesson, right? Which isn't here yet. You see there's one missing. It's not showing. So I'll be posting that up for you, and it'll say 3.2, right? This was the lesson we did the other day. If you need to see it, you can go back. I will, just like this though, I'll be posting today as soon as we get off. It'll have the live lesson, the one that we're doing now. I'm going to record it. It'll have the link to the podcast. It'll have a link to a place where you write your answers. All right, so everything's on iLearn. As long as you know how to get in here, you're fine, right? You'll do like if you didn't do last Tuesday's lesson, you can always come back here and just open this up and do this lesson. And each of these lessons is building the skills that you'll need to have the product at the end. So, right, this was just listening to Steph's podcast. What was the main idea or topic, and what are 3 ideas you found interesting? This is before we started looking at production value. Now in the next one, it'll be very much like this. It's just going to be asking you what's the topic and what are the production elements you heard. That's all. And you'll listen to one episode and do something just like this on iLearn between now and when I talk to you next. Does that make sense? Are there questions? Because I'm here for them. I want everybody to be super successful. All right. So we'll stop this share. Stop that.